What are some teams that had a down year in 2021 that you think will have a comeback year in 2022? Now, I circled 3, but I think there are like a dozen options out there. I did not qualify Clemson as a comeback team. I think they still won 10 games last year. So I did not quite qualify Clemson as that. Texas is one of them. Texas was 5-7 last year. And remember how many leads they had, and they squandered them in the second half. And you know that there's a certain talent level. We always say this with Texas. It's no different now. You always know there's a certain talent level on the roster to where you can go in any given year and you can always say this generic sentence. If Texas gets it right, they've got enough players to do some things. So this year, if Texas gets it right, they got enough players to be way better than 5-7 and way better than, just flirting with bowl eligibility. Texas is there. I think it's going to be a really good barometer when they play Alabama. I think that's a week 2 game in Austin. A lot of you are dreading an 11 a.m. kickoff there, local time. I myself love it, but I'm in the minority. I'm not going to talk about kickoff times right now. But after they get through that Alabama game, I want you to stop me where they're going to be an overwhelming underdog. It's not going to be against UL Monroe. It won't be against UTSA. Scrappy game there on the 17th, though. At Texas Tech, they start to get into Big 12 play. So then West Virginia comes in there. They got Red River. Iowa State comes in the next week at Oklahoma State. There is no game, my point is, on this schedule, nor were there really last year any games where you look and say, they better get the other ones. They're not going to win that one. So that lets you know Texas has either a chance or will be favored in most of their games, but that's always been the case. So we got to ask ourselves, what's going to be different about Texas this upcoming year? Don't know. That's why it's a could be instead of will be. I do think that there are several indicators pointing up for them. Plenty of time to talk about that. My second team is North Carolina. In fact, these next 2 teams I'm going to mention, the vibe that I get from these teams is maybe they're going to deliver on expectations a year after the expectations were heaped on them. This past year, and in Preview Magazine season, if it wasn't Clemson adorning your ACC magazines, it was North Carolina. And there was good reason. I bought into it. I'm not looking at a crowd from a distance and saying, ha ha, fools. No, I'm over there with you. I believed in them. And they went 6-7. And it wasn't because of catastrophic injury, especially at the quarterback position, like I would have sworn it had to be if you told me that they were not even going to finish above 500. That's in the past, okay? Here's what I do know. I do know I like their coaching staff. I do know that they are now stacking multiple very solid recruiting classes on top of each other, and it's not all cotton candy. There's a lot of line of scrimmage talent in these classes that they've signed. It's on campus. It's not like they've all left. And so even though they may be a more anonymous team to you and maybe even me this upcoming year, doesn't mean that they may not be able to do something. I'm looking at their schedule right now. They got 3 games in a row they're going to be favored in, although they go to App State in week 2, so it's not like I'm counting that as already a penciled-in W. Then they got Notre Dame coming into town, and then they start conference play. And this is another schedule where you look at it and you say, I think that North Carolina could make an argument that they could contend in and win every game I'm looking at right now. They don't play Clemson in the regular season this year. So maybe it's North Carolina. I believe that out of those 2 quarterbacks up there that are battling, I am choosing Drake May. That's my pick to win the job. I think they're going to have a solid team. And the third team I want to point out is the Wisconsin Badgers. Wisconsin was one of my most disappointing teams this past year. I thought that they would when I watched Graham Mertz, their quarterback, when I watched him perform, I probably felt like most Badger fans, you just didn't get what you thought you were going to get out of him. And in turn, you thought you were going to have a Big Ten contender up there that ended up not being that. Well, they still finished 9-4. And I'm looking at them, and they tried desperately to get Caleb Williams out of the portal. That didn't happen. But I really wonder, Graham Mertz, it feels like he's been there forever, but he's still got, I think, 3 years of eligibility remaining. And he's playing for a staff up there. They didn't wake up yesterday. Like, they know what they're doing. Developmentally, though, there's only so much you can do with a guy if it just an is who he is sort of situation. My point is, if we haven't reached that with Graham Mertz, if there is some development, maybe it's a between the ears thing, maybe it's a mechanical thing, whatever it is, they haven't exhausted the sand in the hourglass. There's still time to get it right. And if they can get it right, they've got a shot to do exactly what North Carolina could do. Deliver on expectation just 1 year later than we thought it was going to be delivered. So Texas, North Carolina, Wisconsin, those are 3 comeback teams to me in 2022. Big comeback potential. I'm going to be looking at those comments because I think we can go a number of different directions there.